The tech wreck is upon us. Company after company is announcing huge layoffs as we enter into the dot-com bust 2.0. We have seen a speculative mania in these profitless tech companies. People were paying whatever price. They were saying, it's the future, bro. You just got to pay whatever price. It doesn't matter. But also what I don't think many people were taking into consideration, is it a good idea to put the most socially awkward man on the planet in charge of how billions and billions of people socialize? I don't know about you, but I think this is a very bad idea indeed. And Facebook, now called Meta, has had scandal after scandal. They've misused people's data. They've done psychological tests on people using Facebook. There's been leak after leak that the company puts profits before its own users' health. And now they're about to pay a heavy price. And guess what? This is going to be the biggest price of all. A price that comes with a price tag of around $1 trillion. But everyone, in today's video, we're going to go over the huge layoffs that were just leaked, what Meta is going to be doing with these layoffs. And again, it's not just Meta. We're seeing company after company announce huge layoffs. And there is simply going to be severe pain coming very soon. And you all need to get prepared right now because it could be us next. Because look at this, everyone. This is absolutely crazy. Meta Facebook share price is now down 73% year to date. This is something you'd expect to see with a penny stock, but no, this was one of the biggest companies in the world at one point, and boy has it had a huge fall from grace. And we've got some information on why the stock is crashing so much. And people, it doesn't take a stock market analyst guru to figure it out. Look at this. This is Facebook Meta's latest earnings report. And again, you don't have to be an expert. Look at this. Net income down 52%.
I am never going to financially recover from this.
Look at this. Net profit margin down 49%. And they're now hoarding cash. Cash is up 200% as they know there's going to be huge pain coming. Let's look at this as well. Operating income down 41%. Now, this has been caused by two things. People leaving Facebook Meta in droves, and also Apple's iOS update, where people now have the option to not let these apps track all your data. But on top of this, it's also Mark Zuckerberg's vision to be the world dominant superpower. The metaverse lord is also the reason why the stock is crashing. They are spending billions on billions on this metaverse. He's trying to be first and the biggest in the metaverse in hopes it will become the internet 3.0. But what we've been seeing, there's been huge amounts of backlash and people aren't buying it. But okay, let's get into these huge layoffs which were just announced. Look at this, everyone. Meta could begin large-scale layoffs this week, reports say. Facebook parent Meta could begin large-scale layoffs as soon as Wednesday, according to a report from Wall Street Journal.
You're fired.
Now, I think these are pretty good sources because we also had these sources leak that, hey, Elon Musk is going to be announcing huge layoffs at Twitter, and they did come out to be true. The layoffs are expected to impact thousands of employees, the report said, and the move would mark the first major headcount reduction in Meta's history. At the end of September, the company reported that it had more than 87,000 employees. So wow, everyone, this is going to be the first headcount reduction in history. And for those people that may not know how markets work or companies work, some people that may just use this social media apps that are watching a lot of new growth in viewers, is simply what we've been in the past 14 years is a huge bull cycle, the longest bull market in history. Interest rates have been low, debt's been very cheap, 1 or 2%. So these companies could just hire and hire and hire. They didn't have to make much profit. They could just keep getting free debt to continue. But what we're going to be facing is a huge recession. And what I think could be coming is we could be facing a depression, at least for the middle class. Maybe the rich will be okay, but for the middle class, their standard of living is getting destroyed and they're not going to have disposable income to spend on these platforms like they used to. And so now what we're seeing is all these tech companies that have been skyrocketing over the past 10 years, well, we're seeing a dot-com bust all over again. And again, 87,000 employees, this is massive. And I think this workforce could easily be cut in half as their net income has been dropped in half. A Meta spokesperson declined a comment and referred CNBC to Zuckerberg's comments on the company's latest earnings call last month. He said, in 2023, we're going to focus our investments on a small number of high priority growth areas. That means some teams will grow meaningfully, but most other teams will stay flat or shrink over the next year. In aggregate, we expect to end 2023 as either roughly the same size or even slightly smaller organization than we are today. Now, people, he has to remain optimistic in these earnings call, otherwise these investors are all going to pull their money. What I think is really going to happen is they're going to see absolutely huge reductions in 2023 as well. Because the Federal Reserve's lifting interest rates, they're just getting higher and higher. We're now at nearly 4%. And what a lot of people aren't expecting is interest rates are going to have to go above inflation to bring it down. Now, you may be thinking, well, that's just Facebook. Maybe my job will be okay. Maybe these other companies will be okay. Maybe this is just a one-off. No, people, we're seeing huge layoffs after layoffs. And I'm also going to get into some huge scandals Facebook has faced in its history as well. So also, Lyft is facing huge layoffs. Lyft's co-founder announced in a memo on Thursday that the company is laying off 13% of its employees. Their letter cited realities of inflation and slowing economy. Lyft's layoffs affect all parts of the company, and they come after the implementation of other cost-cutting measures early in the year, including a hiring freeze and spending cuts. So again, like I just said about inflation, the economy weakening, you're starting to see the tech companies admit it as well. But a huge announcement by Amazon. Amazon is pausing hiring for its corporate business. A company executive said in Wednesday message to employees. The company had already recently paused hiring in some of its business units. Amazon said the move is in a response to broader economic environment. The measure will remain in place for at least a few months, according to the message to employees, but Amazon will hire replacements for most positions that employees vacate. Again, Amazon's trying to sound optimistic here, but they're going to have to face huge job cuts as inflation destroys people's purchasing power. They're simply just not going to have the disposable income to spend like crazy, like in 2020 and 2021 when they got all the stimulus checks and people went on an online spending frenzy. Stripe has announced huge layoffs as well. CEO of payment service provider Patrick Colson told Stripe staff on Thursday that about 14% of the company would be laid off. In a memo, Colson said Stripe grew at a fast rate during the pandemic as e-commerce dominated, but now the landscape is shifting, forcing the company to scale back. We are facing stubborn inflation, energy shocks, high interest rates, reduced investment budgets, and a scarce of startup funding, he said. So again, what did he say there? Higher inflation. Another thing I haven't mentioned yet, but I'm going to mention now, energy costs. Energy costs are absolutely skyrocketing, especially in Europe. People are closing shops and factories in droves in Europe because the energy prices are too high. What are we seeing right now? We're seeing a huge shortage on diesel. So these trucks that are delivering these goods, they're simply not going to have the fuel to deliver those goods. Reduce investment budgets, and funding to startups is drying up because people know the party is over and they know many of these startup unicorns are going to go bust. But also Snap, the company of Snapchat, announced a significant restructuring back in August involving layoffs of 20% of its workforce. The CEO said Snap was experiencing a decline in ad sales, prompting the cuts. Yes, I'm seeing that as well. I post these videos on YouTube. I see what rate the advertisers are paying for ads, and the rates they're paying for ads has declined significantly since 2021. So again, Facebook stock is crashing. They're announcing huge layoffs, and this has been mainly contributed to their net revenue falling from advertisers. But what many people aren't admitting is that Facebook is losing millions and millions of users for its first time in history. And this is because of the scandal after scandal Mark Zuckerberg has been involved in and the platform. And there are so many people, I don't even have time to go into all of them, but here's just a few. Look at this. In 2014, Facebook faced criticism for conducting psychological tests on 70,000 unconsenting participants in 2012, removing certain words from users' news feeds to test how that affects their reaction to posts. So this is absolutely crazy, people. They were conducting psychological tests without people's consent. But again, they were just saying this was just, a small test to see how people react to people's posts when we take out certain keywords. No, this is completely not right at all, and this is just the beginning of Facebook's scandals. Facebook CEO Sheryl Sandberg said this was part of ongoing research companies do to test different products, and that was what it was. It was poorly communicated, and for the communication, we apologize. We never meant to upset you. I think they mean to say we apologize that you found out. The company also faced heavy criticism for misinformation surrounding the 2016 US presidential election, especially after a BuzzFeed report showed that false news stories outperform real news. Mark Zuckerberg posted to Facebook an apology and said the company plans to improve. And I think many people said they actually went too far because many posts they said were misinformation actually came out to be true. In 2019, the FTC fined Facebook $5 billion over violations of user privacy, which was a record-breaking fine for the tech company. But of course, this is more just like a speeding fine for these tech companies, or at least it was in 2020 when they were making record amounts of cash.
Over $1.2 billion.
$5 billion was nothing compared to the hundreds of billions of dollars they were making. Now, another big failure, like what I think is going to be the metaverse for Mark Zuckerberg, sure, it will be the future probably one day, but Facebook also announced its plans to launch a cryptocurrency called Libra. And in October of that year, Zuckerberg once again testified before a committee of House of Representatives on financial impacts and regulation about the cryptocurrency. Now, this is something they've been trying to do for years. This has been huge hype and speculation that Facebook will announce one of its own currencies, kind of like the WeChat Pay in China. but it's just simply never worked out, and I don't think the US government is going to let them compete with a US digital currency. Another scandal, Zuckerberg appears in blockbuster congressional antitrust hearing in July 2020, alongside the CEOs of Amazon, Apple, and Alphabet Google. Lawmakers later concluded that all four companies are monopolies and should be regulated. And I agree, these companies were huge and still are huge monopolies, but they are starting to lose their power. They are starting to lose a lot of their revenue as they start to censor or they start to shut out half of the country that don't go along with their agendas or that question their agendas, and now this is causing their revenue to collapse. Also, a whistleblower, Facebook data scientist turned whistleblower Sophie Zhang, come forward in September 2020, accusing the company of failing to stop political manipulation by foreign governments. Because another whistleblower came out in 2021 in what may be its worst PR nightmare since Cambridge Analytica scandal. A former Facebook employee turned whistleblower shares internal documents with the Wall Street Journal in September 2021. The series highlights employees' concern about the company's business practices and management's dismissal of its favor of growth and profits, among other things. The documents known as Facebook Papers have since been shared with more news outlets, with new revelations emerging regularly. And people, that was only a handful of the huge amounts of scandals that Facebook and Meta has faced. Once you lose that trust, it is very, very hard, if not impossible, to get back. And that is what Facebook Meta is facing now. But of course, they're saying, well, look, don't worry, that's just what we did with Facebook. But don't worry, in the metaverse, we're not going to misuse your data at all. So everyone, I know what you're thinking, well, okay, what does all this mean in simple terms? What this means is, I think Mark Zuckerberg is going to go for broke with this metaverse. He's going to double down, and it could be the one decision that could lead to metaverse going completely bankrupt. And social media is something we've never done as a human race before, and we're starting to see the severe effects it can have on people's mental health. And now we're starting to see a big paradigm shift, and who knows what this would lead to in 2023. But I think when we look back in history, we're going to see 2021 and 2022 was again a dot-com boom and bust cycle, just like in the year 2000. And remember, after the dot-com bubble burst in the year 2000, it didn't recover for another 15 years. But everyone, what do you think? Is it time to buy the dip? Let me know down below. Now, for all my loyal viewers and subscribers still watching, you're awesome. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next video.